Good day, folks. Welcome to Sport Fishing on the Fly on the Bench. Today I'm going to tie for you my icy Adams. The Adams is a well-known dry fly that imitates pretty much nothing but everything at the same time. One of the most popular dry flies out there, and I've just added some ice stub to it. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For a hook, I'm using an Arex size 14. It's a dry fly barbless hook. Which reminds me I gotta get one out. For a thread, I'm using 18-aught nano silk in brown. For the rib, I'm using fine tying wire in brown. For the tail, I'm using Coq de Leon. And for the hackle, I'm using like a golden brown Grizzly by Whiting, as well as just some natural as well. I'm just going to place my hook in the vise here. I originally got this fly pattern from, I bought some flies, I think from the Steelhead Society or somewhere like that. And this guy had done a dozen dry flies, and they all had ice stub in them, and they worked really, really well. I took them out to the Fernie area, and especially in the evening, I found they worked really well. So I'm just going to tie in my tail. I'm using the Coq de Leon because it's quite strong. It makes a really good tailing fiber for dry flies. I'm just going to pull about 4 or 5 off the stem there. Try and get them all the same length. Mine were a little bit crooked there. Or uneven, sorry. I got sirens going by me in the background. Living in the city here, it's almost impossible not to. I'm just going to do that again. They were just so crooked and I can't get them straightened out. Yeah, there's always either sirens going off in my background or lawnmowers. Whenever I sit down to tape a video, somebody starts up their lawnmower every time. I'm getting sparse here in my Coq de Leon, so just want to pull it straight out from the stem and then tear it off. That's a little better. I'm going to measure it about a hook shank. And do a few wraps. I'm just going to add some cobbler's wax here to my thread. It's very slippery thread, GSP. Make a couple of turns before I go underneath the tail here. A couple of times. And then I also like to bring one right up through the middle if I can, so that splays them out. Like that. If you don't have Coq de Leon, you can just use the brown Grizzly. You can mix it with the natural Grizzly, or you could use brown hen, it's fine. Just going to work on my taper here a little bit. That should be good. Bring the thread back about a couple hook eye lengths there before I tie in my tips. Oh, I'm missing a tip. I must have dropped it. I'm just going to cut another one off the cape here. So I'm using the brown. I'm going to use the brown tips. You could use either one. You could use the natural or the brown. And I'm going to face them. I like facing mine outwards from each other so that the top of the feather is facing inwards. I just find they sit better that way. Take a turn here. And I like them to be about a hook shank in length. Stand them up. And then you could make like a little figure 8 in between them, which also helps them splay apart. Before snipping off the excess here. I'm just going to trim these longer ones. That's good. Still working on my taper here. I'm going to cover it up with dubbing anyway. Another siren going off in the background. I'm just going to take some wire here and tie this in. Hopefully that's not too loud. I might have to refilm this. Take it right down to the tail. I'm going to take my kapok dubbing, and I've mixed it with a little bit of ice dub. I like the purple because I think there's a parachute Adams called the Purple Haze where it's got a purple body. Another good color is like a chartreuse green ice dub. I like the kapok because it's you can spin it on your thread, nice and thin. It's floats very good. It was originally used in life jackets. It's not synthetic. It's actually natural, and that just makes a beautiful little body. I have been testing it out in myself in cups of water here with my flies because I like to see how long they float without floating. Sometimes I don't always have floating with me. I don't always like to use it, especially on things like soft hackles and things with legs and stuff. I just think it, oh, I got a feather there. I think it doesn't look right, or it can just make it not swim right. So I try to see how long it'll go without floating before I resort to it. And now the ice dub tends to be a little bit unruly, so what I've been doing is just snipping it off a little bit where it's standing out too much, because I still want that nice slim body. I'm just trying to get the little bit of the shine in there from the ice dub. And I'm going to take my rib and counterwind it. Nice even spaces. More for durability than anything. Tie it off. I'm just going to snip that out of there. I'm just going to take my hackles and brush them down so they're standing out, so I can measure it against my gape. That's how I measure my hackle for my dry flies. I generally don't use a hackle gauge. I don't tie that many of them, so this feather seems to be a little bit bent. That's about right. I want it to come just below the hook point. And now I'm just stripping a little bit off the bottom of the feather. I'm going to tie it in so that the underside of the feather faces forward. So when I turn it, it's going to face forward, because for a dry fly, it's the opposite sort of a soft hackle where you want it facing backwards. It helps the feather stand out nice, and just helps it sit better in the water, keeps it afloat nicer. I'm going to do the same with the grizzly. I'm just going to strip off some of the bottom. And then this grizzly is just too long. I'm just going to trim it. With the underside facing forward, tie that in. Now I'm going to take both feathers, turn them together. Just take your time here. Make 2 turns in front, or in back, sorry, and 1 in front. Seems to be about right. And then just tie that off. snip out the stems. And now I'm going to take my hackle and just sweep it back. Give it a few whip finishes. Trying to hold it back as best I can. If you have some forward, you can just snip those out of there, which is what I'm going to do right now. Better thing to have, actually, which I don't have at my desk, is a pair of tweezers when you're working with dry flies, and you can just pull out the errant ones rather than snip them, which can sometimes leave it a bit of a mess. But that's good enough. Fish fine. And there you have it, my icy atoms. Thank you for joining me on this edition of On the Bench at Sport Fishing on the Fly. Take care and tight lines.